2024 Louisiana legislation. Let's talk about it. So I just got in the mail my Louisiana updated 2024 legislation amendments and laws that will be proposed and possibly being voted on by the Louisiana Senate and House. These are different things and crimes that are going to be going forth that the state of Louisiana is going to consider putting into law. And I'm going to give my opinion as I read each statute and the brief description it gets. I'm going to tell you if I think this is good or bad for society and ex-convicts. That's right, because laws do affect ex-convicts. And as ex-convicts, you don't need to be complaining about the law if you think it's going to be harsh because you out there ripping and running and doing the wrong thing. Then you deserve to get your time. Quit crying about it. You know the game. You're still playing it at 40-something years old. You probably shouldn't be home anyway at 40-something years old and you're still in and out committing crimes and you can't stop using the dope. Man, find some help. Get yourself in a serious rehabilitation program. Excuse me. And quit being offended, too. Every time somebody tries to say something, you get offended. And convicts do it, too. You know, people in prison do it. Lifelong career criminals, they complain and cry. They'll call you, say you the police. Now you with the man, whatever. Man, a bunch of sorry excuses. That's what it is. Man up, look in the mirror and quit being a punk. Quit draining society. It's a shame. You know, contribute to society. You've drained and took from it since you've been a teenager. You drained and took from your mother and your father since you was born. And some of it might not be your fault, but some of it is. We got to quit making excuses as felons and own up to our responsibilities. And yeah, I'm not talking about the few people who are actually innocent, because there are some people in prison who are actually innocent. We're not talking about them. I'm talking about all you guilty. The guilty, that's right. I was guilty. I had to look in the mirror and own up. I'm not guilty today. Nobody's going to hold me accountable today and accuse me of anything, because this is not going to work. It's not going to fly. I'm going to defend myself. You know, but if you go back to when I committed those crimes, yeah, I did what I did and I paid the price. And thank God there were some things I didn't pay the price for. But I was wise enough when I was locked up that I knew after the second incarceration, that's right, the first one didn't work. After the second incarceration, you know, about 2-3 years into it, I realized I was done. And it didn't take, look, it wasn't because I was getting picked on while I was in prison. By the time I was on my second incarceration, I was a convict. You know, it was my first incarceration where I had all my fights and they were trying to test me and trying to take my manhood, where I had to get in my fights. That was my first incarceration. I'm on my second Jose, as they said in Louisiana. You know, at this time, I got kitchen clerk job in the kitchen. And so you couldn't be no coward because you won't get strong arm. So I was moving all kind of kitchen supplies and kitchen food stuff and everything on the yard and the compound. And you wasn't going to hold that position and be weak. So when I made my changes, it wasn't because I was scared and because I needed protection from the man at that time, you know. Like I said, on my first incarceration, I went through all that stuff. But my second time, I was just like the rest of the convicts, you know. Still living wrong. But it was that moment where, for me, as a Christian, the Holy Spirit impressed upon my heart and said that I was done. But we're going to talk about the 2024 legislative session in Louisiana and some of these laws, and I'm going to give you my opinion on them. And in the legislative session packet that is sent to you from your state representative, each person who lives in a district of Louisiana is going to get this mail away list of the laws, and their state rep is going to give a 1-page description on what him or her is saying about this, and they're putting it out there because they have to put it out there to the voters and to the people. Each section, there's a section on insurance, education, crime, weapons, vehicles, motor vehicles, elections and voting, workforce commerce, children and families, and governance. The only thing we're going to focus on today is crime and weapons, because this is a crime-related channel. Southern crime and incarceration. And so these are the things that we discuss and talk about. Not saying we can veer off topic once in a while, but we're going to focus on the statutes for crimes and weapons. The first one we're going to start off with is crime. And during the crime part of the packet that I got from my state rep, I know you're not going to be able to see this the right way, but you can see right there it says crime and there's a little gavel next to it. And we're going to go through each one. So the first one on crime is Act 85, which imposes a 10 to 40 year sentence for manufacturing and selling fentanyl disguised as a prescription. Do I think this is a good law? Absolutely. My brother died from fentanyl overdose. I had a couple months ago a guy who showed up at our church for the first time, and I went to talking to him, and the next time I asked where he was, he died the next week, fentanyl overdose. The amount of people that I either directly or indirectly know who died from fentanyl overdoses is unacceptable. And if you're sitting there and you're a criminal and you think that this law is bad, then you probably a punk anyway and a drug dealer. And you deserve to get the 10 and 40 years that are laid out right here. Unpopular as it may seem. Can't keep living like that. So yes, I think it's a great idea that the state wants to enact Act 85 to where you get 10 to 40 years if you selling a prescription as a prescription, street dealing, and it's actually fentanyl and you get caught with it. 10 to 40. So that means if you're an ex-con or you're a felon, you probably gonna get that full 40, man. I know I wouldn't want to do that full 40. The only way I'm willing to do any amount of time is defending those who I love and the innocent. I ain't doing no time for selling no prescriptions that got fentanyl in them. So if you messing around with drugs in the state of Louisiana, 10 to 40. That's right. You're looking at 10 to 40 years, and that's what you're going to get. Act 142 creates the crime of unlawful dissemination of an image of another created by artificial intelligence. I can't even pretend like I fully understand what this one's about. I have a brief understanding in my mind. You know, all those memory things that I read, all those articles I read, and from what I basically know about artificial intelligence, I'm trying to figure this out, but I'm not going to give a yes or no on Act 142 because I'm not quite certain I understand enough about it. It says, creates the crime of unlawful dissemination of an image of another created by artificial intelligence. I'm going to say I don't know on that one. I don't know if I think this is a yes or a no that it should pass. Undecided. Act 246 creates the crime of coerced abortion by fraud. Yes, absolutely. I think this should be law. I'm not pro-abortion. I'm pro-life. Too many people have aborted their children, and too many people continue to abort their children. That's my opinion. That's my stance on it. I'm a Christian. Probably one of the biggest issues for me is abortion. You know, and I'm not talking about, people always try to bring up, oh, what if they was raped, or what if it was something like that? I'm not talking about that. I haven't personally met a person yet who got an abortion who was raped, but I know a whole lot of people who got abortions that was just having careless sex and they didn't want to deal with their responsibilities. When I was a teenager, I didn't understand this stuff, but as a grown man and as a Christian, I don't think that we should be aborting babies. And I think if you're coerced into an abortion by fraud, yeah, that constitutes a crime because you was frauding into doing something you didn't want to do. And that means somebody took your baby, through fraud. So yes, I'm okay with them passing Act 246. Act 259, I'm saying acts like I'm reading a scripture from the Bible. No, Act 259 makes it a crime to approach within 25 feet of a working police officer if officer orders person to stop. Here's the thing. This is why they enacted this particular law. It's because nowadays everybody wants to pull out their camera and start harassing the police officers when they're doing their jobs. Man, just pull out your camera and get it from the distance. You don't know what's going on. You automatically jump into conclusion, think you're going to be the social justice warrior and save the day, and the police really got this person down right. The times where it's actually a police officer's in the wrong, it does happen, but it's not usually the case. And you might be involving yourself in somebody who needs to go to jail and be arrested. You don't know the full story. So if you want to pull out your camera from a distance and film it, they can't stop you from doing that. But don't interfere with the police officer. And you're getting 25 feet, you're getting 5 feet away from them. Now you can involve yourself, man. You can actually get hurt Try to stay away, observe. It's okay to observe. Nobody can stop you from doing that. But why do you got to go harass the cop when you really don't know what's going on? You don't have all the information. So yeah, I'm all good with them making this a law. Act 267 increases penalties for porch theft. Absolutely. Too many people getting their packages stolen. You see it all the time. And don't act like, oh man, shit, brother, you got too many laws on us criminals and gangsters. Man, quit being a gangster. Quit being a chump. We'll steal people's packages because you smoking crack. Man, stop. Yeah, this is a good law. Act 318 authorizes vehicle impounding for drag racing on public roads. Man, listen, I'm mixed on that one too, because I get it. People want to drag race and have fun and, enjoy their fast cars. Here's the thing about this though. If you drag racing on public roadways and you're hitting 80 to 100, 120 miles an hour in your souped up car, I know you're not intending to hurt somebody, but you can accidentally hurt somebody, or maybe even your passenger if you got a passenger. If you're going to do some drag racing, don't race with no passenger. So if they impound your car, I'm kind of like, yeah, no, because I don't think, it's still a traffic violation, so I don't know if they should take your car for that. But you are being careless, man. You don't want to hurt no innocent person, right? Somebody walking across the street, or somebody on their way to church on a Sunday, or coming home from work on a Saturday night, and you drag racing and you run into them and kill them, God forbid, right? There got to be some kind of laws in place or something. Well, and obviously the ticket and traffic violations that go with it aren't enough to stop people from doing it. So they got to try something else. So I guess I'm okay with this, So go to a racetrack, or make sure wherever you drag racing at, there really ain't nobody there. Use wisdom, man. Don't try to hurt the innocent, so you could have fun. All right. Act 318 authorizes vehicle impounding for drag racing public roads. I just said I think I'm okay with that. Act 281 makes booking mug shots public. Nah, I don't know if I agree with that, because no, I'm gonna say no. Why? Because just because you got a book and mug shot, you hadn't went through the judicial process yet, so you may be innocent. When it's all said and done, you may not even get convicted of that crime. It may get thrown out. The DA may not even accept it. So no, I don't think they should make that public right away. Now, once you get convicted and once you're found guilty of something, or you take a plea deal, then the public's going to see your mugshot, but not before that. So I disagree with that one. Act 678 makes panhandling on a public street a crime. I don't think it should ever be no felony crime. I'm kind of sideways on a misdemeanor crime for panhandling. Panhandling's become out of control. And I hear some places it's really bad, but in the New Orleans area, in the surrounding areas of New Orleans, there's some spots where it's really bad. And it ain't necessarily just the fact that somebody's asking for money, but sometimes you get some mental health patients that are asking for money, and it can get out of control. We had a woman banging our window one time, and my wife was sitting there, and I'm looking at the woman, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm like, my wife don't want no trouble, but my wife is gonna bang this woman up. My wife, she knows how to defend herself. She's ex-military, she grew up with all brothers. She knows how to defend herself. And there's this crazy lady beating on our window, and we're trying to ignore her. No, we don't have no money, but she's hitting on the door like this. And I pull up and I can't go because there's other traffic going quick like this. And so I'm trying to be careful, and she's following our vehicle. Eventually, another vehicle pulls up and she goes to them. This person is intruding on our peace to be able to travel on a public roadway without being interfered with. So I don't think that this is necessarily wrong. I just think they need to do a case by case. Plus, panhandles, have you seen the side of the roads where they panhandle at? They got trash everywhere. They littering, they using the bathroom, they defecating there. Something's got to be done. I don't have the solution for this, but I understand if the state is trying to do something to stop it, So I don't know if I'm against this one. Yeah, I'd say yes, go for it. Act 276 allows police to arrest drivers who fail to show valid identification. I mean, yeah, you gotta have your ID on you. Why are you gonna be against this one? If you forgot your ID at home, cool, they'll sort it out, figure out, and you'll be on your way. I've driven quite a bit of times where I forgot my wallet, right? But nowadays, you probably got your phone with you, so there's digital wallets. You can keep your ID on you, but the police got to be able to identify who you are. If they let everybody go for a violation and they can't figure out who they are, and they wind up letting a really, really bad person go, who do you think the public's going to blame? Oh, the officers, misconduct in the police, fire the chief, fire everybody. So they're trying to cover themselves now. So here we go. Now we got to deal with this because nobody wants to show their ID. So no, I'm not against it. Yeah, show your identification. You got to prove who you are, right? All right. Act 728 creates crime of contractor fraud against someone 60 years or older. Absolutely. If you are going to fraud the elderly through contractor fraud, jail. I think you should get more jail for doing that than selling drugs, because you are victimizing the elderly and the innocent by coercing them and convincing them that you're going to do legitimate work. After Hurricane Katrina, I worked for a nonprofit organization who would rebuilding efforts in New Orleans. Plus I did a lot of ministry work with helping people rebuild. I can't tell you how many elderly people we sat down with who were robbed from their FEMA money or their insurance money by fraudster contractors. So yeah, lock them up, give them time. Actually, and like I said, I think they deserve more time than drug dealers and gangsters. Next, Act 728. I'm sorry, we just went over that one. Act 651 allows for castration of sex offenders whose victims were under 13. Lock them up, castrate them, do whatever you got to do. They messing with kids. If you against this, you need to go in the mirror and check yourself, because you probably doing something you probably involved in this type of stuff. There ain't nobody who should think that this is okay. So absolutely castrate them. Something got to be done. We got too many children being harmed and hurt. All right, next one. Act 586 increases penalties for human trafficking. Increase them, give them 100 years in prison. Man, you can't traffic people. They got to make the penalty stiffer. We got to quit playing around. In a free society where we can enjoy the special privileges of freedom that we have, and make no mistake, we got a lot of freedom. More freedom than any society had in the history of the world. You might not like it. You might complain and cry about it. And you don't never accomplish nothing in your entire life because all you did was cry about society and how bad the country you live in is. You live in the freest, most privileged country in the history of the world. And I don't care who you are or what demographic you come from. You got more rights than anybody who came before you, even if you don't like them. And you can spend your life crying about it, and then life will pass you by, and you're going to be dead, dead, dead. And all you did was complain, complain, complain. All right. So the next one we're going to go into is weapons. And they got a little asterisk for the weapons with a little pistol. You see it? And I want to cover weapons because I feel like weapons deal with crime too. So weapons allows concealed carry of firearms in restaurants that serve alcohol. Law-abiding citizens should be able to strap up, pack up, and conceal and carry, right? That's a constitutional right. I can't be against that. So, but I don't think alcohol and firearms mixes. So if you're going to be drinking, this is like you shouldn't drink and drive. You shouldn't drink and carry your firearm, right? That's stupid. Now, if you're a worker and you're working on a beverage machine, or you're in there working on a ATM machine and you're not drinking in the establishment, you still have a right to have your firearm. But if you're drinking, I don't think you should have your firearm on you. So I think they should limit that. All right, Act 38, carrying of firearms by qualified law enforcement and retired law enforcement. Yes, they should be able to carry. Act 63 limits possession of firearms by felons. No, I'm a felon, and I think I should be eventually restored my right because I've proven I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm a taxpayer, and that same person I was when I was 19 years old isn't the same person I am in my late 40s. So I think they should do a case-by-case basis where you should be able to go before a board and you should be able to get all your rights back because you served out your sentence, right? And you've proven that you are responsible. Act 413 increases sentences for felons in possession of firearm. No, I think it needs to be a case-by-case basis. Once again, I'm a felon, and I think that this law hurts those who want to do better. You know, I can vote now. They want my vote, but I can't carry a firearm. I think they need to look at that again, or open the door for pardons a little bit better for criminals. Act 58 creates penalties for illegal carrying of use of firearm at a parade. I live in the New Orleans area. I don't go to parades. There are shootings that happen at parades. As often as you may think they happen, they're probably rare in comparison to how often they don't happen, obviously. The amount of people who get shot and killed on parade routes is sad. It should be zero. But in most of the time, it ain't never no legit person with his family who's carrying that does this. It's gangsters and thugs and punks and drug dealers who are doing this. So if you hold the law-abiding citizen who gets caught with his strap on the parade route and put him in jail, what good does that do? The gangster's still gonna carry? It's stupid. No, we don't want this law in Louisiana. Stupid law. Act 585 prohibits list of privately owned firearms or owners by any government entity. No, I don't want no more government. We need less government. The government's involved in too many things that is. They make a mess out of everything, right? So say what you want about it. Act 535 increases penalties for carrying of concealed handgun by individuals under the influence of alcohol or controlled dangerous substance in the French Quarter. The city of New Orleans, the leadership in the city of New Orleans is messed up anyway. Every single leader we get, every mayor we get, by the time they get out, almost every one of them got some kind of skeletons in their closet or crimes that come back up and they get indicted on something or another. So New Orleans is a mess. I don't know what to say about New Orleans. The leadership is terrible, poor. I mean, I wish there was better words than that. That's actually being nice about New Orleans leadership. It's sorry, y'all. It's sorry. New Orleans has got sorry leadership, and they're probably going to keep getting sorry because they keep voting for the same types of idiots time and time again for the wrong reasons. Most people, look, if you're a law-abiding citizen and you live in Louisiana, stay out of the French Quarter. I do my best to stay out. There's some restaurants that me and my wife enjoy, but nowadays, if we got to go to an event there, we try to go and we try to get out, and we keep our head on a swivel. So I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, that's all I got for now with the 2020